or are they? Right, this one I'm showing purely because it's actually quite a well-known picture, but I'm not showing the well-known part of it. It's called the sea rock picture, and this is supposed to be the sea rock. See, it had the letter C on it. I'm not showing that because it can't be proven exactly how that letter C got there. It does look exactly like a typed letter C, but there's all sorts of discussion about it, and if you want to find out, then have a look on the Apollo Lunar Surface Journal. They give a long discussion about what happened to the sea. It was a hair in the camera. The point about this is very difficult to go through a right angle. But this remarkable lunar rover managed it, can turn through a right angle. You've got very great detail. That's one of those little genome jobs. And about here backwards, there's no detail whatsoever in the background. What is going on? Are they frightened to show us what the background actually looks like? Or were they just assuming that nobody would spend the time and trouble to examine them in as much detail as is being going on now? Now, let's make it a little technical, but bear with me. Port and starboard. There's the door out of which astronauts would come out of their lunar lander, and if you're a naval person, you'll know that as you face the bow of the ship, the right-hand side is the starboard and the left-hand side is the port side. So they're standing in there, looking out through the windows there, so this is the starboard side, this is the port side. It's to do with where the lunar module was loaded onto the lunar lander. And reading through here, it says that it was loaded. Now, this is a picture taken of the loading of the lunar lander. Loading of the lunar rover. Here is the ladder. It's obviously not the same ladder, but it's a ladder used to access the lunar module. There's the doorway in there. It's quite definitely being loaded onto the port side. This here matches this here, that line matches that line. But the lunar rover didn't unload from the port side, it unloaded from the starboard side. What's going on? Again, it's continuity. It photographs better on that side, and it always managed to get the American flag showing, no matter how dark it is. Yet another anomaly that has yet to be fully addressed. Now, this is the landing area of Apollo 17. This is the Taurus-Littrow Valley. And have a look. This is the command module, by the way, this thing here, because when the command module and the lunar module separate, we're told that the lunar module goes up onto a higher orbit. I don't quite know why, but it did. And that's the command module. And this is a photograph taken from the lunar module of the Taurus-Littrow Valley. Now, the point about this is, look at this hill here. This will be the background to many of the photographs that were taken on Apollo 17. It's quite wide. It's about 4 or 5 miles across, and the landing point was sort of more or less in the middle here by some of these craters. This little hill here will feature, as will this little bit here. But before we get to the actual land, let's just ask another question. If there are any astronomers here, perhaps they could answer the question which I've yet to have satisfactorily answered. This is again the same picture of Apollo 17. And what we have here is the horizon. This is the lunar module, probably 15, 20 miles above the surface. This is the Apollo 11 approach. This is their, we're told, landing site over here. And this is the terminator, a bit between light and dark. Because the moon is circular, the sun will obviously disappear at some point. But it hasn't disappeared here. The angle of the sun when they landed was very similar, about 13 degrees above the horizon. You would expect, wouldn't you, that the horizon, which is probably, let's say, 150 miles away, to be generous, would start to show up some of these little hills here, but no, it doesn't. It's like they were using a rather better lit model in some studio. Anyway, another mystery. Right. Remember the hill we looked at? This is the same hill here. Same hill here. This is what's called the split rock. This was photographed on Apollo 17. And where's the lunar module gone? It seems to have vanished. We're told it was somewhere about here. Now that mountain is about 4 or 5 miles away, so fair enough, it's going to be a bit small to see it. Ah, there it is. Found it. Oh, this is the same mountain. What's going on? You'd think that, all right, you can get a long way away from something, and yes, the mountain behind might look quite big. But if you get close to it, will the mountain look the same size? And then if you take this bit here, this would be the equivalent of a telephoto shot. The mountain looks huge. This image and that image are the same. Same mountain. Lunar module. Now where's it gone? It's the same area. It's quite a long way away. You'd expect the lunar module would be at least somewhere in that picture, but it's disappeared. What is going on? These are all Apollo 17 photographs. And you put a lunar module on the lunar surface and it's lighter than air. It leaves no tracks. None at all. Footprints, plenty of them. No tracks for the lunar module. Now, I don't know if it had special tracks that didn't leave anything, but it does rather defy belief that it wouldn't leave any track when you see lots of tracks all over the place. You may have seen a famous photograph and famous video of the lunar module taking off from the lunar surface, and it was photographed from this thing here. The TV camera up here would have filmed it. The TV camera was controlled from Houston. 1.3 seconds download, 1.3 seconds upload. They timed it pretty well, actually. Pretty well, very good. But this is the final resting place of the lunar rover, and so is this, and it's quite different. So again, NASA have managed to either mislabel it or just get it wrong or think that we're going to forget it. Because the wheels are turned on this one, and they're not turned on this one. The S-band antenna is pointed in quite a different position, and there are no tracks. It's weird. It's mysterious. It just doesn't add up. It's as if we have been presented with a fantasy. And it's very easy to persuade yourself. I was very nearly persuaded. I went through, I've looked probably at several hundred, if not a couple of thousand, if not more than that, of the 17,000 Apollo photographs taken on the lunar surface. They're all available on the internet. And if you go through them in sequence, which you can quite easily, you go through them in the sequence they were taken in, and most of them look pretty good. That's the sequence you would expect, until you come across some of the ones that we looked at earlier, and it destroys this whole concept. It's almost as if it's been slipped in. Now, so is it fact or fiction we're looking at? When I do presentations like this, I'm normally asked three questions. Why didn't the Russians blow the whistle? Well, where did they get the rocks from? And they put reflectors on the moon, so they must have got there. Those are the three major points that come up. Let's deal with them. The Russians. Sergei Korolev had died in January 1966. That middle picture is Yuri Gagarin's lunar capsule, orbit capsule. He was never photographed in it. He was never photographed getting out of it. In fact, when he was found, he was in his parachute costume, and it landed in the training ground that he trained as a parachutist. There is strong evidence now that Gagarin did not complete the orbit. He was chosen as a PR, for a PR stunt, basically.